I began this morning's session by speaking about governance and about leadership in a national and international context, and you've drawn a very, very interesting and complex picture about the challenges that are faced in that regard and how they pertain to not only Pakistan, but about relationships and global development in a general sense. Thank you so much for making that clear. Folks, we have a couple of minutes, and you have in front of you a panel of extremely interesting, important, informed, intelligent people, and I'd like to invite you to engage with them, because you have the opportunity to ask a couple of questions on these issues that we've been discussing. So please, anyone who wants to ask a question or engage, raise your hand.
I've got a question.
A little bit closer to your mouth, if you would.
I've got a question for Riaz. Riaz, you were in the technology in industry. You were a success in setting up your own company, completely different domain, and now you are CEO of this large corporation, and you set the case for that also. My question to you is that, what is that we need to change in terms of education to have the future CEOs, and what is that is missing today? Like, there are MBAs, there are accountants, there are IT graduates, etc., etc. So what are the core things that you think that need to be brought into our education right from the beginning all the way to the professional level to be ready for future? Thank you.
Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah, very interesting question. It'll be a little difficult for me to answer how we can perhaps address this challenge at a very young age, but I can certainly talk about some of the things that we are doing in the organization to better prepare some of the potential leaders or the upcoming leaders, including some of the current leaders as well, to better prepare them for this challenge. The first thing is that we have to realize that and come to terms with that what are the inherent weaknesses of our current businesses and what is the problem at hand and how is our business changing. I think that's identification of that problem or that challenge is the first thing. So what we're doing in order to better equip our people is that we are actually, just to share with you, we've actually engaged with McKinsey to develop a whole leadership model, right? And that leadership model is based on competencies which will be required from leaders moving forward. And innovation and embracing technology is a big part of what will define a future Engro leader. So the message is very, very clear that for the future leaders, embracing technology and embracing innovation is going to be a big part. So we're not just ending it there. We're also, with one of our group initiatives, Karachi School of Business and Leadership, again in partnership with KSBL and McKinsey, we are setting up an institute which will then provide the necessary coaching and training to our future leaders on the competencies that we have identified. So I think a bit of it is going to come, just to come back to your question, a bit of it is going to come back to us internalizing clearly that our business is also changing. We cannot just think about it this way that, oh, we've made so much money in the last 50 years by running plants efficiently and by selling urea in an agri-economy with subsidized gas, but our business is evolving. And I think that internalization is very, very important, because once you know that you're facing a challenge, then you're better equipped to sort of address it. But I think very clearly a big investment from our part going into having a system which identifies top talent, and then we are investing like mad on it. So this is a direction which has come from the board, from our chairman as well, that we are going to treat, we're not going to call human, we now use the term human capital. So there's financial capital and there's human capital. And that's, so we've really elevated that. And I think that's something Engro has been able to sort of do over the past few decades as well. It has produced so many leaders. But we're trying to now institutionalize that in context of what is required from leaders moving forward. So hope that answers your question. Yeah.
Thank you very much. We'll have plenty of time, hopefully, over the course of the next day and a half to ask questions. I know there's plenty out there, but at this moment in time, we're quite limited. So I'll take one more.
Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Mushtaq Nurwala. You see, I must congratulate the Nutshell for organizing such a nice summit. I think over the days, we would run many things, and coming days also would give us a benefit to all of the participants. At the same time, my concern and my question to the Governor, Honorable Governor Sindh. You see, he has rightly pointed out about Dr. Salam, who has been a very good scientist and has earned a laureate for the Pakistan. But we have not recognized him for the years together. What are the reasons when we are living in and we are practicing and we are preaching about the Kayat's country? Why such discrimination has happened for all these years? And who's responsible for that? Can you just tell me? Thank you.
Is that relevant?
I think that part was very clear. I mean, because we have been scared of recognizing because of the backlash we thought will come as a result from the majority. So that's the reason. And politically, it was not a done thing. So if you're asking who is responsible for all the governments who have been there are responsible for it. It's as simple as that. And that's what I say, that if the state is scared of taking a decision because of the fear of the backlash, either from the religious right or the liberal left, then I think it should not be functioning in the first place. So whether it is, say, Altaf Hussain, just for example, it's not just about the religious right. Altaf Hussain was no religious guy. He was a liberal for many people in that sense. And the state was just standing by for decades and allowing him to do complete mayhem. And he was, in fact, given the license to kill and plunder. And the state was simply standing for decades. And that's another example of how the government decided to, no, this is enough. Not just the government, the people decided enough. And we have to now implement the writ. So if someone is wrong and you don't implement or take decision because of the fear of the backlash from a political standpoint, I think that has been the main reason.
Okay, thank you very much. As I say, we'll have hopefully plenty of time to take all your questions over the course of the next day and a half. But for the moment, probably time to wrap up this morning's session. And let's do that by inviting to give a vote of welcome at the end, a vote of thanks rather, Kamal Mian, the CEO of Fast Cables.
Thank you, Taimur. Honorable Governor Mohammad Zubair Saab. It has been a very, I think, I would say for myself, absorbed morning where we learned local experiences. Being a local manufacturer, I could relate to many of them, that how change is the only constant factor in the business these days. And we have seen in Pakistan, even in the industry I belong to, many big names have disappeared and many new have come simply because they failed to adapt to the change as quickly as it was required. At the same time, I believe another thing which we are all learning, and this session also touched upon on that, is the now centricity of the customer now. The technology, the proximity to delivering anything to customer has so much increased that now all of us have to go back to the drawing board and really rethink that how can we be relevant to our customer. And while listening to the presentations, and we were talking about how the technology is making interventions, the 3D printer is one of the many. And I personally was surprised when we introduced a new technology in Pakistan. And to make a model for that, we engaged an architect in Lahore. And that architect, when I visited his workshop, small workshop in a small industrial estate, he had a 3D printer there, and he showed me how the model you see outside the conference room, how he will use the 3D printer to make some of the parts of it. And I was personally amazed that this guy has really adopted the change and now delivering the products which I thought will take maybe weeks, if not months, to deliver. So that's how the technology is helping us to intervene in the systems which are old and to change them in a way where we can bring value to the customer. Another related example which I can share from experience, in our industry, counterfeit is a big challenge. In fact, the reason Fast Cables did not have any channel partner for 30 years was that whenever you place your product in the market through the dealer distributor, immediately you have your counterfeits. And we were only doing direct sales and telling customers very proudly, if you get our product in the market, that's not ours. We will deliver you ourselves. But the flip of the side, the same coin was that we were losing a big market share because our product was not in the market. And an intervention which we did, when we saw that everyone from an electrician to a contractor to a household have access to the mobile phone and can easily use SMS, we introduced a cable genuineness verification service through SMS. And that was first in the market, and we were amazed how people accepted that. So when they buy a product, they can scratch a code and they can send a message, and instantly they can get verification of the genuineness of the product. And that's how we resolved a problem which for decades has been holding back many in the market for not doing what is right. With that, I'm really grateful to all the panelists. Especially I'm grateful to the Governor Zubair, because he himself has spent his life in technology. I think we all owe him and his first, I would say, employer a lot for what these days we are able to do. And I believe his encouragement for forums, summits like this actually help us as businesses to get more encouraged that we have the government supporting us, and it's up to us to really go and adopt the change and make the difference. The opportunity is there for us to lose. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Kamal. And we're lucky to have Kamal with us today, because I'd like to just sort of end this session by unveiling some news about fast cables in the context of what's happening today. As you know, and as we've been talking about today, the world's a global village, and to remain competitive in this global village, companies like Fast need to continuously improve and benchmark themselves against international norms and world best practices. And companies that don't meet international competitive standards often find it difficult to survive and sustain their businesses. Well, I'm happy to note that Fast Cables is now the first Pakistani company, having recognized the need to obtain international certification, has indeed got that for its product from the top European laboratory, KEMA in Holland. The gold certification of Fast Cables products not only validates the quality, but also puts a Pakistani brand on a par with some of the European and international brands, which hopefully will allow Fast Cables to explore a bigger portion of that export market you were talking about and earn much needed foreign exchange for the country. Now, this KEMA gold certification also sends a positive signal to the world community that Pakistan companies are on a par with their world counterparts, both in technological advancement and competitiveness. So in recognition of this achievement of fast cables, I'd like the Honourable Governor of Sindh, Mr. Mohammed Zubair, the CEO of Fast Cables, Mr. Kamal Mian, and the CEO of Nutshell Conferences, Mr. Mohammed Asfar Hassan, to unveil this KEMA Gold certificate for both low and medium voltage cables that's been awarded to Fast Cables. Please step down to the front of the stage. Congratulations to Fast Cables. Now, gentlemen, could I ask you one final group photograph at the front? And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes our morning session.